I said, God, you gotta move this mountain. I just don't see it any other way. I'm too weak to make the climb. I need a miracle this time. That's when
Afternoon, we are back. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Afternoon Drive Home on IC Radio in the town of Geraldine, Alabama. We're your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, excuse me, on channel 182 on Charter Communications, and also on Abundant TV, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. I wanted to mention a few folks are going to be with us a little bit later on in the week. A special segment, Unless It Rains, at 9 o'clock with Mayor David Bubba Hughes, and he is with the town of Bridgeport, Alabama, and they are growing by leaps and bounds. They're about to be like a big growing center. Looking forward to talking with him. 1 o'clock, I'll be talking with singer Debbie Bryan. We have our own top 20, and our listeners are the boss of us. Our listeners tell us what to play on our station, on IC Radio, and she has been climbing the charts, and she's doesn't have a promoter or anything. Folks just love listening to her. So she'll be with us at 1 o'clock. And 2 o'clock, we're waiting on Lydia Pennington to give us an answer whether she wants to be on, can make it actually to the show or not. She's with the Mountain Lakes Chamber of Commerce. On Thursday's show, it's going to be another fun one, a very special segment at 9 a.m. and that's with DJ Andrew House. Yes, he's going to be DJing with me right here at this station. Looking forward to talking with Andrew. Then 1 o'clock, we're going to bounce up and talk to Rob Patz. He is the owner of Abundant TV on several television stations and radio stations all around the country. He's also found Abundant TV. It's also found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Then 2 o'clock, we'll be talking with Brent Woodall. Brent is candidate for runoff election, Alabama Public Service Commission, Place 1. Looking forward to talking with him. It was a big election. I'm going to tell you what, he seemed to be a little surprised he was in the runoff, but I really wasn't. He has had boots on the ground. 2:30, we'll be talking with Jim Stover, and Jim is the director of radio promotions at Horizon and Sunlight Records, and that's Crossroads Music. On tomorrow's show, we're going to be talking with Nathan Lee at 1 o'clock, and he's with Northeast Alabama Community College. And then author and speaker Deja Lee LeBrere will be with us. I'm looking forward to talking with her. And then today at 2 o'clock, I'm going to be talking with author and speaker attorney Don Brown. Looking forward to talking with him. A.P. Steadham will be with us in just a few minutes. He's probably jumping airplanes right now. Busy guy. He is a sports talk show host, and it's always a lot of fun to talk with him. A few questions have been sent in about Alabama's coach, so we're going to see if he can answer those for us. Our winners for this past week, on Friday, if you would like to be part of the birthday club, the anniversary club, or the date night club, you got to let me know. Send a message to Donna at icradio.media. You can also go to that website, icradio.media. And if you would like to download our apps to listen to our awesome music that we have going 24/7 and this show and other specials, make sure you're going ahead and connect from the website. You can download it on the apps on your cell phone. Happy birthday to Susan Mitchell. Susan won a $20 gift certificate to Vintage 1889. If you're just not from this area and you're traveling through Alabama, something, we have a lot of fantastic restaurants. This is just a homegrown restaurant right here, and it is owned by my friend Lynn Brewer. Lynn has been part of our show for years, and so go down there and check it out. Now, she also has a place, there's a little courtyard out at the back. There's a restaurant, and there's also a loft you can eat up there. She also has a venue if you're getting married, want to have your wedding celebrations there, wedding anniversaries, those kinds of things. You can rent that out as well. Courtyard, and then things to sell and things to buy out there as well. A lot of antiques, a lot of collectibles, a lot of folks, jewelry, just all kinds of great things out there. This is brought to you by Adams Brown Service Funeral Home of Albertville. Known Mr. Kilpatrick, our family for years, and he is just a real good man. He's been working there for a long time, actually the manager. And so anyway, I love promoting them. Date night congratulations to Sarah Jenkins. Sarah won 2 gift cards to Santa Fe Cattle Company. They're located in Albertville on Highway 431, right just past the Hobby Lobby. Women know where Hobby Lobby is. And and also in Fort Payne, just off of the interstate. They're still pretty busy on both those locations there as well. And this is brought to you by Albertville Foodland Plus. I wanted to mention to you Albertville Foodland Plus. I've bought lots of groceries there. You know, if you like to have a garden and you're all about gardening and that kind of thing, potatoes, anything. Oh, and by the way, the bananas make the best banana bread if they're extremely ripe. So go ahead and check them out, okay? But they have also great food on sale too. I like to buy my pork loins there. They're really good. Put them in a crock pot, and then you can make sandwiches off of them. They're really good leftovers as well. One more, and that's Papa Doobie's of Albertville. You got to check them out. Melina Talley won a $20 gift card there. And this is brought to you by Shepherd's Cove Thrift Shop. We just got through talking with a couple of folks at Shepherd's Cove. Lena, who has been there quite a while, and also Jaron, who is very new there, and he's already excited about working at Shepherd's Cove. Go by the thrift shop. You get all kinds of great buys there as well. And so if you'd like to volunteer and you're new in the area, and AP, I don't know if you know about this, but Albertville, Alabama is growing by leaps and bounds. Every time I stop there, a new building is being built. They have this magnificent theater being built right across the street on Highway 431 from Shepherd's Cove Thrift Shop. It's magnificent. So if you're thinking about, if you don't know anybody, volunteer. Hey, AP, how are you doing today? AP Steadham, talk show host.
Oh, good, Donna. Yeah, thank you for having me on the show. I see we had the same wardrobe person today with the red.
I'm glad you got the memo.
I did early this morning, so I had to look around for a red shirt.
I like red. I don't care what color it is. Any kind of red is just fine with me.
Right. But I'm good, Donna. I'm good.
So what's going on in the world of sports this week?
Oh, yeah. You know, Donna, this is June, and right now it's just kind of building up to the football season. They have the NBA playoffs are going on. Some people watch the basketball. Not too much. I don't think in Alabama, but Golden State is playing the Boston Celtics, so it's tied up 1-1. Pretty good series. You know, Golden State has Steph Curry, and he shoots from the locker room. I mean, that's how his range. It's the greatest range I've ever seen in basketball. He can make shots a couple steps over half court. I mean, most people wouldn't even attempt a shot. I mean, he not only attempts it, he makes them. So that's kind of interesting. But it's really building up to football. Last week was SEC spring days, media days, and I guess it's SEC spring meetings actually in Destin, Florida. And so they were discussing scheduling. You know, they're going to have 9 games in the coming years. They're going to have with 16 teams, are you going to have 4 teams in a pod where you play one constant opponent and then one constant another opponent from a pod, and then every year you're playing different people. So that'll be interesting in a couple of years when Texas and Oklahoma come on board. So those are some of the things that were happening, but it's kind of a quiet time. You know, coaches are just, some of them are going to take a vacation here pretty soon. Let me turn the TV down here. Sorry about that. Yeah, some of them will be taking vacations pretty soon. They get that little window in June when they can relax and go wherever they want to on vacation with their families. So, but then July, everybody's back, and we're getting ready for the SEC spring, SEC media days in July and mid-July in Atlanta. So everybody's just trying to get ready for football season. Then that's what's really happening.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, last week when you were on the air, there was one of our listeners from California. You know, we're nationwide, we're really worldwide now. And it's on Abundant TV. You can find us on Roku, Apple TV, and also Amazon Fire. And so someone said, quit taking all of our players and taking them to Alabama. Yes. And then a few minutes ago, right before you came on, someone sent, they're from California apparently, because they said they agreed with the person from last week. And then they said that they can understand why they don't come back to California because of the humidity here. And this person visited Alabama. If you've never been to Alabama, humidity, it is something.
Yeah, humidity with a capital H for sure. Right. Yeah, in Los Angeles, it gets hot, but nothing like Alabama with the humidity.
Right.
So when those teams travel from the West Coast to play in the South in the early part of the season, there's a slight advantage for the teams in this part of the country. They usually bring their fans and air coolers, but Alabama has those too, I believe, and Auburn does. So they even if they're playing in this type of weather, they need those air coolers as well. But no, California is an interesting place, Donna, because so many teams, just like Florida, they recruit that state. I mean, Texas will recruit there. The teams in the Mountain West and Colorado and uh, Arizona and New Mexico, they're going to California for players. Idaho, whereas Florida is being recruited by the Big Ten, the Big 12, the SEC, the ACC, the American Athletic Conference. So there's a couple of states that have so many football players. There's an abundance, and some of them like to leave the state to see something different. They've been in California their whole life.
Mama.
Yeah, they're right. There are a lot of people. There are a lot of congested areas in California. The big cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego. So maybe they go to a specific college town where it's not as many people, and they feel like if something, it'd be to their advantage to be in that college town and not be so congested.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree, but I'm thinking of humidity because I was raised in it. I was raised in the humidity, and then Phil took a job promotion, took us to Charlotte, North Carolina, and we stayed there for about 9 years. We moved back. I had to get readjusted again, so I can only imagine if you're coming from a low humidity part of the country and you come here, there's some adjustment, especially when you have to practice on the field, and I mean that's got to be a huge adjustment.
Oh yeah, I was actually in Charlotte over the weekend, Donna. So I know that it was hot, but it wasn't overbearing like it is in Alabama, which doesn't just overwhelm you with that humidity and the sunlight. And so yeah, there is a difference from North Carolina, let's say, to Alabama, but you have to make an adjustment, and you have to always drink water all the time. You're hydrated. You got to be hydrated. It's a point of emphasis because you can collapse if you're not used to that type of humidity and you're losing that water. So you have to be. And I don't think people really understand that you must. When you say hydrate in Alabama, it's different than you must hydrate, let's say, in Minnesota. It's a slight. I mean, you have to have that water bottle close by all the time. I mean, years ago, Donna, imagine that. They wouldn't let them drink water. They just didn't know. They just didn't know. So they'd have them out there practicing, guys collapsing and taking salt pills and everything. But I don't know when the sunshine came in, when all the coaches understood that you must be hydrated, you're going to kill somebody. But that was over time. I mean, it's one of those things that everybody's brainwashed to think that, oh, well, I want to make my team tough and I'm not going to let them drink water, or it's not good for you to drink water when you're out here in the heat. I don't know why you would come up with such a concept. And for any sport, never mind football, where you're wearing gear, all that heavy gear.
Oh, I know. All that stuff's heavy.
Yeah, and you're sweating before you even make one play on the field.
Mm-hmm.
You lose. I mean, if you took time and you just think about it, you're losing all that water. Mm-hmm. But coaches, they were concerned about, let's get ready, let's be tough, we don't need any water, and we can. I don't know. I don't understand how that all those years that nobody drank water. It's just strange to me.
It is to me too. My son used to play football, high school football, and I remember his coach didn't want them to eat. I mean, they had to be particular about the foods they were eating as well. He didn't want them to eat peanut butter. And because peanut butter will give you a high energy really fast, but then you'll crash after just a few minutes as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now it's more scientific, and with the nutrition coaches and the people who studied that in college. I mean, that's their major, nutrition. Mm-hmm. So coaches have everybody on their staff where it pertains to all parts of life, mm-hmm. Psychological, spiritual, the physical, of course, the nutrition, mm-hmm. Anything that academics, all phases of life. I don't know one phase of life that's not covered now with an athletic department. Mental health is probably the last one that they've been emphasizing. That took too long as well, Don. That should have been done years ago.
I think so too. But I think coaches are smarter and they realize that to have a successful team, there really needs to be a balance in your life, even for playing football.
Right. You can't have a deficiency in any area of your life, because then it'll affect your performance. And if it affects your performance, it affects the coach. Because he's trying to win. He's trying to get the maximum from every player. So really a lot of good happens when a player is on scholarship, because maybe he's growing up or she's growing up. They don't have the nutrition they need. They don't have someone worried about their mental health. They have some academic assistance to make sure they're passing the courses. I mean, there's so many good things that can happen if you view it from that prism. If you're viewing it from the prism that, well, they're making me do all this hard work, but think about it. How many millions of young people would like to be on scholarship playing a sport? And I'm not saying only football, any sport in college, and getting paid to play, because now you have those different NILs, the name, image, and likeness deals that you can, get together with your agent, and then plus you're getting the various extra money from certain types of scholarships that are available to athletes and anybody who attends the school, the Pell Grant, the total cost of attendance. I mean, that's money on top of the room, tuition, and board.
Another question that came from this morning, let me see if I can find it real quick. And you kind of touched on it just a few seconds ago. And this is about football players in college being paid. What's the story on that?
Right. So now you have something that's called the name, image, and likeness. You can.
And that's by Tim, by the way. Tim, thanks for listening.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Tim. Yeah. Name, image, and likeness. So you can get some representation with a lawyer or an agent. And you could say, for instance, there's a local auto dealership that wants to pay you to promote that dealership in the town or in your state. And you could sign an agreement, and you take that agreement to the school. The school has to approve the agreement, and then you're paid for the services rendered that are agreed upon with that deal. So that's the name, image, and likeness. And Don, if you think about it, you can be extremely creative. I mean, I'm wondering when somebody's going to put up a billboard with a player. I haven't seen that yet. I mean, I'm sure it's happened around the country. I just haven't seen it in Alabama as of yet. But if I was a company, I think I'd put that player's name up, a photo up there on the billboard. Maybe sipping a glass of orange juice, or sipping some soft drink, or eating some type of food, or using some type of consumer goods. And I think I'd put him on the billboard. I think you get your money's worth with that.
Yeah, eating a spoon of peanut butter.
Something. I really would. But just think about all these deals you could come up with on it.
Absolutely. Now, Brad sent something, and it was about, he wanted to know if you knew anything about the situation between Saban and Jimbo Fisher.
Right. I know that they've known each other for probably 3 decades, maybe even 4. And that Nick Saban had hired Jimbo Fisher to be the offensive coordinator at LSU. And then when Nick Saban was at Alabama, one of the openings when the offensive coordinator position became available, he tried to hire him at Alabama, but Jimbo chose to go to Florida State under Bobby Bowden. That's how he became the head coach at Florida State. But they're fussing at each other because Nick Saban claims that all the recruits came to Texas A&M because of the NIL deals in advance. See, I think Nick Saban has an issue. He wants the players to arrive on campus. He's trying to get them deals through something called collectible. The school can't get involved, but every school is having something called a collectible. All these boosters chip in, and so he wants to give them X amount of dollars when they arrive on campus Tuscaloosa. Then he wants them to get the representation to have a deal. Nick Saban, as I understand it, he's saying that Jimbo, he's luring the student athlete to Texas A&M before they arrive on campus. implying that they can get this deal, NIL deal, and then they're signing the NIL deal before they get to campus. Jimbo countered and said there was only one player that had an NIL deal before he arrived on campus. But technically, that's probably true. But I'm sure, and I say this about not only Jimbo, but all the major schools. The conversation now, Donna, is not how nice is the weight room? Do you have my major? Let me check the locker room. What are the rehab facilities? The first question and the longest conversation is, what is my NIL deal if I arrive on campus?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about money now, strictly the money deal.
And I kind of hate it. I mean, I can understand some of that, but I kind of hate it when it starts turning into being about money. It's not, to me, it kind of takes away some of the luster of playing, you know.
Right. But, Donna, when you're watching the game on Saturday and it's 3rd down and 7 and somebody catches a pass and it's your team, you're going to be yelling just as loud. You're not going to be.
Yeah, I will.
You're not going to be thinking about how that player, he's from, I don't know, Alaska, and he had no connection to Alabama or Auburn or Tennessee or LSU, any of those schools. He came here strictly for the money. He catches the pass on 3rd down and it's your team, you're going to yell very loud. I can assure you. You're not, it's like in football, if you're nervous, Donna, once you're on that kickoff team and you get hit that first time, you forget all about being nervous because you know that you have to carry out your assignment. Coach is watching, you're being filmed, the NFL scouts there. So that's what's going to happen. People complain about the money being involved in college athletics now, but it's, like I said, and I'm not the first, probably the toothpaste is out of the dispenser. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing we can do. It's what university, what coaching staff, what head coach manages the name, image, and likeness now that it's arrived in college athletics.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there's just, many ways that you can look at this. It's just that, I don't know, it just seems like anytime there's money involved, it starts being about the person who could be marketed the best, I think. That's just in my opinion.
Right. And there's always when you have money, there's always the hint of corruption or the possibility of corruption. And a lot of times, Donna, I always said, when you're involved with money in sports, the biggest question is, who is going to get all of my money? Mm-hmm. In other words, I've seen many talented players, but I wouldn't give a certain player 1 red cent. The other player, I'd give them all my money, because if I gave them all my money, they're going to perform 100%. Some players, you give them the money, and that's questionable if they're going to do 100% ever.
Mm-hmm. One other thing, and this came from Andy, he said he can see a situation that happens here, where a really good college football player will leave college and start going pro. Maybe you can keep them in college a little longer.
Absolutely. That's a good point that he brought up, because some of the players, let's say if they leave, they're going to be a 3rd or 4th rounder, maybe a 2nd rounder in basketball, let's say. Mm-hmm. If you're able to get them $1 million or $500,000 to stay on campus, that's guaranteed money that they have. That's better than the money they would get as a 2nd round draft choice, or kind of equal to it in basketball. And in football, you get a lot of money for them to stay, which is equivalent to something in the 3rd round. Yeah, I think you're going to see a couple of players stay, and some that are on the border thinking, well, maybe I might not get drafted, so maybe I'll stay here. I'm going to take this money at the moment for 2-3 years, and then I'll take my chances when I graduate. So yeah, he's right about that. There are going to be some players that stay.
I think so. Can you think of anybody maybe who quit college and went to pro, when it would have been a better thing for them in the long run had they just stayed with the college and then went pro later?
Yeah, that's a long list, Donna. And right off the top of my head, I can't remember somebody who should have done that, but it's happened. It's happened. But, Donna, in the whole scheme of things, there's thousands of players in college with an unbelievable opportunity, whether they know it or not, that they're getting this education and they're getting a chance to be around some of the top alumni that have been successful in the real world, but they kind of are very dismissive of that fact. So they're going to lose out. I mean, those who can envision an opportunity, they're smart. They're going to stay, or they're going to take advantage of the opportunity totally on the field, off the field. Some, if it's not in their hand, Donna, they don't see any benefits by staying around.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. AP, we have about 3 minutes before we go into a commercial break. There's something you want to talk about, maybe the lineup of the top 5 football. I know it's hard right now. A million things can happen between now.
Yeah. I'll just go over a few things, Donna. Let's say, for instance, outside of the region, USC. We got to watch USC. They have Caleb Williams, transferred from Oklahoma, excellent quarterback. Lincoln Riley became the coach. He was in Norman, Oklahoma as the head coach. Now he's at USC. I would watch that, keep an eye on that team on the West Coast. I would say Ohio State is always going to be in contention in the Big Ten. And Notre Dame, they have the new coach. Marcus Freeman was a defensive coach. I don't believe he was ever a head coach. So that'll be interesting to get down. And you know what? They play each other the very first game in Columbus, Ohio. So we got to watch that very first game. Michigan's still trying to reach Ohio State's level, even though they beat them. I would say in the ACC, Clemson, they're looking to turn things around. I'd watch out for Miami in the next couple of years with Mario Cristobal and Mac Brown, North Carolina, see if they can do something. See if Wake Forest can have another good year. Let's watch out for Penn State. They're going to be playing at Auburn on the 17th, the third game of the year. Watch that Penn State team. If Auburn's able to win that game, that'll be huge for their season. And then you get into the Southwest, you still have Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, and Texas meet up the second game. Texas' season could be made if they beat Alabama. It'll mean that they're turning it in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And of course, in the Southeast, you have Alabama, Georgia, LSU with a brand new coach, Brian Kelly coming down from Notre Dame. Arkansas is playing much better football with Sam Pittman as the head coach. Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher's a $75 million coach down. He's not there to win 8 games and lose 4. I mean, that's not the standard that they're looking for when they signed a contract, $75 million. They had him, paid him $75 million for that contract. So A&M, it's time for them to have an excellent season. And when I say excellent, I mean get in the playoffs. They had a good season a few years ago, but get in the playoffs. Then you have Georgia on the other side, 15 players, a record-setting number drafted into the NFL from Georgia. Can they replenish and have another good team win that SEC Eastern Division? Kentucky, we got to watch them. Will Levis at quarterback. Mark Stoops, he's an excellent coach. He does a lot with his players, develops them, gets the most out of his talent. Florida, new coach Billy Napier, young and enthusiastic, great state to recruit. South Carolina is trying to get better with Shane Beamer, second year. So there's a lot of storylines. But overall in college football, I think it's going to be a few of the blue bloods up there. And you might have another team surprise. You might have somebody enter that foray of the last, the 4 teams that are picked for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You never know. Alabama with Coach Paul Bryant, he came up with a strategy that helped them win, and it wasn't looking so good right before then. But a number of those guys, I'll tell you what, I'll treasure those interviews with
Wishbone Boys.
Yeah, the Wishbone Boys. I'll treasure those. And
sure.
So
and
you just never know.
No, you never can tell. In Auburn, if they can get some good play from the quarterback position, doesn't have to be one player, could be 2 at Auburn, could be 2 quarterbacks that get things done for them on the Plains. But that third game, that Penn State game, that's important for them.
Absolutely. Well, AP, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's always fun.
Hey, thank you, Donna. My pleasure. Thank you.
Looking forward to next Tuesday.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. That was AP Steadham. He's a talk show host, sports enthusiast. He's got it all going on. But he's our go-to source. If we have any questions about anything pertaining to any kind of sport whatsoever, we always go to AP Steadham. Okay, folks, let's go ahead and get ready for our commercial break. And we're going to be back with attorney Don Brown from Charlotte, North Carolina. And that'll be in just a few minutes.
Out and about me, face your fear, shout my name, proclaim the victory.